on record. Hello, everyone. Happy Tuesday. TLS Tuesday. I should say welcome, TLS family. So happy to see you online. If I know some of you are always tuning in every Tuesday, so Melanie and I are feel grateful for your support and always tuning in, checking on what we want to share with you every single Tuesday. So, can you believe it? Let me start by saying, can you believe it? It's already August. One more month and September is back. Where did the time go? You're always wondering. I'm always wondering. Time seems to be flying through so fast. Anyways, how's everyone doing? How's your weekend? So today, in case, I always forget this thing, which is very funny. I forgot to introduce myself. Okay, so for those who are new, tuning in to our Facebook page, which is Weight Loss, TLS Weight Loss Solution. My name is So San Hua. I'm a dietitian, certified diabetes educator, as well as TLS Director of Training. So today, I am going to talk about cravings. I think this is a topic that it's pretty much, it's probably one of the most common topic or question that we get asked all the time. And as a dietitian, I talk about cravings almost, I would say in my practice in consulting, at least it will come up once or twice during the whole consultation period. It has to come up. So it seemed like this is something that we all had to deal with, cravings. So before I talk about them in detail and provide you some solution, I need to ask you, do you crave salt or do you crave sugar? And I know a few times Melanie mentioned that she is more of a salt person. She loves her cheese and crackers. So are you the cheese and cracker girls, or like the cheese and cracker or chips girl? Or are you the chocolate person, or the cookies, or the cakes, or donut? Are you the sweet? Or you the saltiness? Okay, so let's talk about why we have craving. Let's start with salt, okay? So a lot of time when we have craving for salt, there could be other underlying reasons. So I'm going to list each of the underlying reasons with regard to people who are craving for salt, as well as for people craving for sugar. Then I will offer you some suggestion and solution, and you can try and let me know if that works for you. Okay, so when we have salt cravings, okay, whether you're salt or sugar, let's start with salt, okay? The first thing that I will check on is whether you're dehydrated. A lot of people who crave salt are actually dehydrated, and people said that's weird. It's because I eat too much salt, therefore I am always thirsty. Yes, and that makes you dehydrated, and that's why you need to. That's why your body's wanting more salt to rebalance it. So dehydration is number one. Number two, it's very similar to dehydration, is what we call electrolyte imbalance, right? How often you hear about electrolyte imbalance? That's why the sports drink got so popular, especially when you do a marathon and you're running, you're working out hard in the hot sun, and you're sweating it so much, and not only you're dehydrated, but at the same time as you might also release, or I would say get rid of too much electrolyte, and causes electrolyte imbalance. So these two are actually very common reason why people crave for salt. Other than that, there is actually some underlying health reason why people, or I would say health reason or specific disease where people particularly crave for salt. And unless you have those disease, you will never be told that one of the condition or symptoms of that disease is craving for salt, right? Then guess what? Stress. Yes, I know that word that we mentioned so many times, but it is happening. It is affecting us. Stress affects and actually causes salt cravings. And aside from that, PMS. Yes, woman, PMS. Okay, premenstrual syndrome. A lot of women do crave for salt right before the starting of their period. How about pregnancy? You also crave for salt. And if you say, okay, looking at those things, that doesn't really apply to me. How about one last thing? Bad habits, just bad habits. I have a friend, especially right now is the whole big Olympic season. She loves watching Olympics, and whenever she sit down, she's very busy, but whenever she sit down, watch Olympics or watch something, it happens to be Olympics right now, she felt the urge to eat a bag of chips. And I was like, why does sitting down watching something needs a bag of chips? She said, it just goes together. And when she had that bag of chip, it need to have Coca-Cola with that. I was like, why does that bag of chip need to have Coca-Cola? So I want to really I want you to start thinking a lot of time our craving, it could be just bad habits. And she said, it's because when I was growing up, that's how I know whenever we pop ourselves in front of the TV and watching something is chips and Coca-Cola. So that's how she remembered it. So she felt so weird watching something and not have anything on her in her hands, eating and drinking at the same time. So let's take a look. Whenever we watch a movie, why does movie has to go with popcorn? Why can't movie go with celery? I'm just joking around. I know what celery, but my point is, a lot of time these habits are stacked with each other. So when we think of movie, we think of popcorn because in the movie theater, that's what they do, right? That's what they sell. So a lot of time it's when you have certain cravings, whether it's in this case salt craving, and you have a bag of chips. Is it because it was an environmental thing? You were happening to be in that location, sitting, watching TV, watching Olympic, and you felt there's a need for that? Like, so this is very important because when you think of craving, it really goes back to three things, right? Yes, we have salt craving, we have sugar craving. We even have people who crave for fat, like they like creaminess, right? But for today's sake, let's talk about salt and sugar first. So it's usually three reasons. One, is it physiological? Is it psychological, or is it induced by environment? When you have watching TV and you need to have a bag of chips or whatever salty, that's environmental. That's not really psychological. You're not bored. You're watching something. But you felt that when you're watching, maybe you grew up that way. Every time you watch something, you need a bag of something. It happened to be chips, or when you go watch a movie, it happened to be a bag of popcorn, basically. Okay, so that's salt. Let's talk about sugar. Sweet craving, right? So when you have sugar craving, it's a little bit different, but one of the common thing that that's both in salt and sugar craving is dehydration. So when you dehydrate your body, you might interpret your body wanting sugar when in fact they only want water, right? So there's dehydration. There is what? Blood sugar imbalance. Yes, you often hear that. When your blood sugar is imbalanced, when your blood sugar drop, you are craving for sugar because our body like to be in homeostasis. We like to be in the middle. I always say even Steven, our blood sugar like to be here. So anything goes too high or too low, our body overreacts. Same as blood pressure, same as everything else, right? So when your blood sugars drop too low, or when they're not, I want to say imbalance, like a roller coaster, you have that craving for sugar even more. So it is actually a blood sugar imbalance. Number three, stress. Yes, that word comes up again. Yes, stress makes you crave for sugar. Why? Because when you're stressed, you increase your cortisol. You want the energy to either fight it or you want to run away from it. Either way, you need extra boost of energy. And that's why your body wants the quickest form of energy. And what that is called sugar. So when you're stressed, your body craves sugar. Guess what? When you don't get enough sleep, your body also craves sugar. Sleep and stress, okay? What else? Gut imbalances. When you don't have a healthy gut, or when we say don't have a healthy gut flora and you have imbalances, you notice yourself craving sugar. So next time when you're craving sugar, ask yourself, are these things that are affecting you? And you say, how do I know? I would say, you know what? Test them out, right? So how about magnesium? Did you know that magnesium deficiency also leads you to craving sugar? Yes, a mineral deficiency, magnesium deficiency, because magnesium plays a role in supporting healthy blood sugar. So when you don't have enough magnesium, and people say, where do I get magnesium? You get it in your vegetable, your green leafy vegetable. You get them in almond, you get them in avocado, but the majority come from your leafy green vegetable. And this is why in TLS, we encourage you to eat as much green vegetable as you can pack it in. That's why when I do a shake in the morning, when I drink a shake, it was my excuse to pack in more greens. I add in a lot of spinach. I even add in some zucchini. I wanted my vegetable in. I want to pack in whenever I can because I want that magnesium. And if you feel like from a diet perspective, you cannot get that magnesium, then you might want to consider adding a magnesium supplement, right? So this is something to consider. Did you know that being tired, you're craving for sugar? Yes, not enough sleep, stress, and being tired also makes you crave for sugar. How about, which I said before with the salt, packing, really getting, because you have a bad habit. And one of the bad habit, I think is very, really, and this is very environmental. It's very similar. You know how I was talking about my friend who won a bag of chips and Coca-Cola went in front TV. Another way to pack a bad habit, which I've seen in some of my clients, which is very interesting, is if you were working in any city downtown, you know, every corner of the city always had a coffee shop. Why does every corner of the city or in downtown has a coffee shop? You have more coffee shop in downtown than anywhere else that are walking distance. Why? I always say demand and supply. If there's no demand, there is no supply. The fact there is so much supply of coffee shop everywhere, that means there's a demand for it. Why? People feeling tired, and second, people craving for sugar. So that's where you are getting your coffee fix, because coffee gives you that caffeine fix, because you're feeling tired, and at the same time, they entice you with these sweets. So I have clients who work at a certain building in downtown Toronto, and sure enough, every day at 3 o'clock, she'll be going for a coffee breaks with her colleagues, and sure enough, she will be picking up something sweet. And a lot of time, I can tell you that when we're working together, she would tell me, I wasn't hungry. I wasn't even craving for it, but it was a habit. It was our routine. So sometimes when you pack a bad habit or not such a great habit, a bad habit, okay, so how do you determine it's a bad habit? I often say a bad habit is something that doesn't serve you. So in this case, it's a bad habit because it doesn't serve her. Yes, she wants to socialize, she wants to network, she wants to connect with her colleagues, so they have an afternoon tea or our coffee break. There's nothing wrong with that. But the fact that because they chose this way as their coffee breaks, right? Coffee break does not need to be coffee with a donut, but she is always coffee and a donut. And she put that you know that since then, when she switched job to another company, happened there is no coffee shop downstairs from her company at the same time as her colleague doesn't have a coffee break habit. Guess what? She just changed her habit almost instantly because no one said, hey, let's go out for a break, because her new colleague was not into it. So she suddenly quit her habit just like that. So I want to give you these examples to let you see that how our craving may not. So if your craving is physiological, which I was talking about, you know, dehydration, okay, you're feeling tired and therefore you wanted that boost of energy, stress, that causes the kind of the consequences of that, increasing the cortisol, your body wants it. That is more physiological. Okay, then I haven't talked about leptin and insulin resistant. When you have more leptin resistant, yes, you are craving more food. You always want more because you're not feeling full. But here I am. If we take away the physiological, okay, we just look at psychological and we look at environment. Environment do play a big role. So next time when you have craving, I think the best way to work on deal with craving is very simple. Number one is assess where that craving comes from. Is it physiological? Is it psychological? Or is it environmental? So when I list those cravings as is right now, does anything apply to you? And if it is, test it out. Okay. If I myself, I can tell you that on the day that when I don't have good amount of sleep, or when I have poor sleep because my kids are waking me up in the middle of the night, I can tell you that day I definitely crave for sugar. I can tell that I crave for carb, like not necessarily sugar, but I crave for more carb than usual. And I know it was because the night before I didn't get enough sleep. The next day I have a very busy schedule, which increased my stress, right? So increased stress and lack of sleep really put me in that very bad shape where I was craving more. Where in the past I wouldn't be. Like lunchtime, I'll be so happy with my salad because I love eating it. But if I want, instead of a salad, but something of rice or a noodle, I know what that means. So I think it's very important to know the root of that problem, okay? So root that create that craving. So that's number one, is find out the roots. And the best way to find out is, I call it the elimination, right? When I list them out, test them out. See, is it purposely maybe one day, sleep very little, sleep less than your usual, see how you feel. Certain day when you're feeling more tired, notice that you have more craving. Then start to notice, is it environmental? Is it, when do you have that sugar craving? Is it because your friend asked you to meet them at a coffee shop and therefore you have a sugar craving? Or is it because you're watching TV and therefore you need a bag of chips or a bag of popcorn, whatever it is? Ask yourself, what is the reason for that craving? What is the possible root? Okay, and could be magnesium. Maybe start adding more vegetable, green leafy vegetable, and see if that's craving reduces. If it hasn't, maybe your diet is not enough vegetable. Maybe you say, oh, that's the most I can eat. I cannot eat more. Then I will consider maybe adding a magnesium supplement. And again, see how you feel. Listen to your body, and from there, you know, right? So once you know the reason, then it's much easier to resolve it. If my reason is environmental, it's because I was put in that situation. Then, like, for example, let's suppose that I'm the type of person that when I watch TV, I must have that bag of chips. So one way of doing it is maybe when I'm watching TV, instead of that Coca-Cola, maybe I would switch into a club soda or maybe something that is maybe an iced tea that is sugar-free, for example, that I don't put sugar in there. That's one way. It's ice cold drink. Or my favorite in the summertime was Perrier with soda water with lime. I love lime and mint. Yes, is the virgin, I call it the virgin style of mojito, but very healthy style. That's one of my favorites. So I sometimes make that kind of drink in a fancy cup. It makes it so fancy, right? So that's one. And then what if I want something salty? How about making, Melanie actually posted the other day making a tofu chips, right? Or making a healthier version, because there's so many healthier version chips that you can buy, or as simple as using celery with peanut butter or almond butter. I think that would do the trick. The most important is knowing that you have that craving, is having a alternative ready for you. Because why we always go for a chip or cookies or anything? Because they're convenient. You want it, you open it, you can get it. But if you can make your healthy alternative as convenient as the unhealthy version of it, it's equally as easy to go to the healthy version. But when you make the healthy version inaccessible, not convenient, so you're setting yourself for failure. You're definitely going for the convenience. That's why convenience always wins. So I always say, if convenience always wins, then we make healthy food convenient. We make healthy alternative convenient, then it makes it so much easier to make that choice. Okay. So I'm hoping that I'm helping you to kind of start to analyze. Maybe next time when I do a TLS Tuesday, I can provide you some more alternative, but for the sake of today, I really want you to start really analyzing. I always say to my client, the best person who can help you is you, because no one knows you more than you, right? If I have a sugar craving or if I have a salt craving, I need to know what is the underlying reason in order to find an effective solution to cut it out, right? But if I don't know the underlying, let's say all this time it was dehydration, me looking for alternative, maybe a healthier alternative of in terms of, like I said before, the celery with almond butter. It still doesn't cut it, because the problem is I was dehydrated. All I have to do was maybe drink a glass of water, and that was it. So I think it's very important. Take a time, if you want to rewatch this video, really to ask yourself, does those apply to me? Then go back and say, if I'm not sure, but I'm going to test it out and see how it goes. And maybe the next TLS Tuesday, I will share with you more tips to how to, as a healthy alternative, like what we can do in terms of, okay, now that we know that we don't get enough sleep and the next day we still be tired, but plan for it. Like when I'm tired, I know I will have that craving. So I'm more conscious of that. So when I make my food choices, I might add something that are a little bit more starchy because I want that. But I also be aware that I can choose a healthier starch and an unhealthy starch. So I could have chosen quinoa if I want something a bit starchy, just because I want that little bit more carbohydrate because I'm feeling tired, I'm stressed. Or I'm gonna add a little bit of sweet potato or squash instead of having a big bowl of rice or a big bowl of noodle. So my point to you is knowing ahead of time. It's almost like you're driving, you know there's a traffic delay in front of you. You find yourself a shortcut. You're not going to wait until, okay, I have a traffic delay, I'm stuck right here, I can't go anywhere. Guess what? You know, every day, if you start to have those cravings, it's like you're driving and you know there's always a traffic as such an area. You can plan ahead and find your detour. Okay, anyways, hope you find this information helpful. And until then, have a great day and I'll see you next time. Bye, everyone.